a little talk. Often people ask, what is the History Association? So I'm going to give you the quickest version of what we do as quickly as I can, but we do a lot. We are a very small, spunky group of volunteers that work tirelessly to bring as much of the Coastside history to as many people as we possibly can. In 2018, we transformed the old jail that was, I'll say graciously, executed into 3 months into the beautiful museum that is on Johnson Street now. It's a super impressive effort that was led by 3 amazing women and very difficult. We also collect oral histories, and a lot of those are on our website, and we transcribe them. We have a quarterly publication that is far much more than a newsletter. It's really sort of an in-depth look at various portions of our history. If you'd like to see that, we have a list in front. Get on our mailing list and we'll email it to you. Otherwise, it's on our website. In 2020 and 2021, we had the plaque project. If you walk down Main Street and some other buildings in the Bay Area, you'll see plaques. There's history of that building. Have a very rich history for a long time. Back to school, we're very excited about that. So we're going to all the Coastside classrooms right now, take them on a full tour from the first peoples to about the settlers. My personal favorite. And then last but not least, we have these presentations that are now a little bit more frequent sometimes than quarterly. And we're very honored tonight with the presentation that we have. That introduce our guest speakers tonight in a minute. But we're very excited that you're here. Again, there's a list up there. Feel free to get on our newsletter. And I'm going to let Scott Frazier, our membership head, talk a little bit about that.
Good evening. I'll make it quick. We want you to join Half Moon Bay History Association as a member. It's not much. Why we want you to do that? Because we want to form a stronger relationship with the community. I see with this membership, do more with it. So with that, go on our website. You'll see all the great things you get to have by being a member. The regular people don't. And you'll like it. And it's going to grow. And we're going to have jail and the museum is open. There'll be a lot of great benefits. Just watch the web. 50, I'm a 44-year resident of Half Moon Bay. This association has really done a lot for many wonderful things that I do. And those of you who have been here a long time or young or here, plan to stay here as time goes on. I'm proud to be a member of it. I think you will too. I hope you'll consider
I think it's just because it's been sort of an intense couple of years. I completely forgot about one little thing that we finished up in the last month, which is the complete renovation of the old, over 100 years old barn behind the jail museum, which is now literally a state-of-the-art solar panel, ADA, amazing lighting. It's an amazing structure which will house some of the fabulous artifacts that we have been entrusted with over the years. We're very grateful and excited about that invention, and always looking for volunteers. So, without further ado, thank you for your attention. Our first speaker tonight is, sure, a lot of people know her husband, Alex, who she refers to as her darling. I don't think I've ever heard you say Alex. Oh, my darling Alex. And that's Alex Matienzo. And I know, Matienzo. And Alex has an amazing story about history. And she has graciously agreed to come and talk a little bit about that history. Thank you. I got you.
Whenever I'm asked to speak about Alex, I travel with that. speak for Alex. I traveled with that painting. He did that painting. That is Maverick dog that Mavericks is named after. And that is the actual Mavericks grave that Alex painted. And this is my darling now. And the story is true. What he and his group did in the early '60s when they were surfing up and down the coast of California, they would make sure they traveled with dogs sometimes not. But when they traveled to Mavericks, at that time it wasn't Mavericks. It really didn't have so much of a name. It was just a break. It was a huge break. And if the ocean was right and it got the right swell, it could be huge. And several times during these last 20 years, it has gotten to it's so high that if you placed a couple of semi tractors front to back and front to back, that was as big as you're talking about a 60 or 70 foot frame and face. So what they did is, at that time, you could drive way out to the high water mark of the ocean and park there. So guys would drive out, make sure the dog was safe, tied up, plenty of water, plenty of food, and then they would go surfing and surf the Mavericks break. The dog would get undone, swim out to where they were, jump up on one of the boards, and they would surf in and repeat several times over. And Alex did a lot of surfing up and down, as I say, the coast of California. The name Mavericks spread by word of mouth. No advertising. Now, another famous person that we have that has surfed that wave and became familiar with it was Jeff Clark. Jeff Clark surfed that way, surfed it after it had been named and it had been carried forward. He surfed it all by himself and became very familiar with how the water came in, how the tides came in, and he is known for that. Alex was truly a Renaissance man. His profession was nursing. He was a male nurse in the times when male nurses were brand new. It was a heavily female profession at that time. And I think the reason why that he was so adept at nursing and such a wonderful nurse is that he was raised in the house of women. He understood us completely. When he was on the beach in his later surfing years, he was known as the bull of the beach, which means that they have the final say. They have the final say over the actions of the other surfers that are surfing on the beach. And they are respected by the other surfers on the beach. It was one of Alex's true guiding lights that he did female surfers. When the boys got too rowdy, obnoxiously rowdy, Alex had the wherewithal to step in, have everybody go to their corners, and explain in no uncertain terms that the water was to be shared. Alex was an advocate for women surfers, and he was a feminist before the word was even coined. He truly believed that men and women should share the water, share the ups and downs, and share the rewards, whatever they may be and are. If you have any questions at all, please feel free to look at the photo and I'll have this out. So please enjoy the rest of your night.
First, I'm just gonna get both of the introductions over so I can just sit down and enjoy. We have two speakers tonight. Brian Seelbach. Brian is a standout at Mavericks. It's a break that has the best big wave surfers in the world, and it's not an easy place to be a standout. He does it with talent, grit, and passion, making the semifinals at Mavericks 5 times. This alone puts him in the ranks of the top professionals. Brian honed his big wave skills as a Grom at Ocean Beach, a challenging surf break outside of San Francisco. In addition to his day job, he served for 10 years on the board of Surf the Waves, and now serves in it as an advisor. Thank you, Bam Bam. Every time I go out at Mavericks, it's special. Looking back at the mountains and the rocks, it's beautiful and amazing, and it clears my mind, and all of life's stresses go away. I can imagine having that break behind me. It's good. We're also very fortunate tonight to have Bianca Valenti. Bianca is a world champion big wave surfer, speaker, activist, and entrepreneur. In addition to surfing the world's most dangerous waves, Bianca is a tireless advocate for increasing opportunities for women and girls and all outdoor athletes. She currently serves as big wave athlete representative to the World Surf League and is co-founder of Better Wave, a small firm committed to investing in outdoor athletes. Without further ado, actually, it's going to take a second. So, patience. Brian, ready? Takes about 30 seconds.
Thanks, Judy. That was great.
Oh,
What year?
they
What year did Mavericks play?
probably in the very early 60s. Yes.
And just
Some-
He's got a microphone.
And it just truly, the surface up and down in California coast time, were the ones that picked up on it, particularly in Santa Cruz. And it was truly by word of mouth.
And Mavericks was a leader. Right, can't see that.
Okay.
Sorry about that. Thank you. You ready?
Okay.
First one, just gonna let it- here is that. There you go.
Okay, I put together a couple slides here.
Right, top left.
Play.
Oh, that's what I first. Okay. And I found, is this kind of
That
same kind of white drip?
Can you use the mic, you think?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I found this picture of a white.
It's not a
shepherd,
pointer.
Similar looking. I just couldn't place like shepherd, but yeah, beautiful dog. So I just wanted to quickly talk about Mavericks and how it affected and impacted my life. And so give you a little bit of background about myself and who I am. I basically came out of UC Santa Cruz with a master's degree in geology, and I decided to go on a long 7-month surf trip. And while I was on the surf trip, I decided, yeah, I'm going to come back to California and get a job and stop surfing. And then I came back and I started surfing again. It just was the easiest thing to do. But I also got a job, and I started a long career in environmental consulting. And I realized that with work, I needed some outlet, and surfing was the perfect thing. So surfing became actually really important as I started realizing how much I loved surfing Mavericks. And this is a photo of me, my first big wipeout after I started surfing. This was like 3 or 4 years after I started surfing out there.
And you're like,
Yeah, well, I'm tall, and that wave was big. And I remember when I landed, you know, I felt like it was a motorcycle crash. You know, the neck gets kind of ripped back and you flop around. I think I went a couple times down the face of the wave, and then the wave picks you up and takes you around. You're kind of in this circular motion, and it took me all the way to the bottom. And I just hit the bottom, and I thought to myself when I hit, like, I didn't know, like, I haven't heard too many people talk about hitting the bottom. I figured it could happen, but when I was down there, this weird thing happened. I decided, and it wasn't like a decision. I just knew that I couldn't really panic at this point. That my mind said, relax and pretend you're somewhere else because you're going to be down here for a little while. Anyway, this is before the vests and that inflate and help you get to the surface, or some of the other equipment that's out now. All it is kind of you and the deep dark blue ocean. So anyway, I think this particular wipeout was a point when I realized that there's just more to just riding this wave. It really commanded a whole mental piece of fear and understanding the fear. And yeah, so I tried to, like, I guess, conquer the fear of drowning in this particular wave. And I just remember this wave as like, okay, I made it. I lived through this. I can continue to do this. And it just it really grabbed onto me. For some reason, I love the adrenaline of this. And so I continued surfing Mavericks. I also wanted to mention the first day I surfed Mavericks, which was a day back in, I think, 1998. And I paddled out after buying a board off the rack at some surf shop with a couple friends, and went out. And on my third wave, I dropped in on Jeff Clark. And I didn't even know the guy. But when I was riding the wave, I looked back and he was sort of waving his arms, and wasn't sure if he was mad or really upset or really happy, or just, you know, I couldn't read him. But I quickly cut out of the wave and paddled back to where I was. And he comes up and introduces himself, and he was clearly happy that he saw another person riding a wave with him. And that has been the spirit of Mavericks ever since I started surfing out there. Is you can ride waves with other people, and generally no one's going to get mad. It's like a little camaraderie out there that's different than your local break here or Santa Cruz. So that also was a big connection for me, just the community and how open people are. Actually, the next wave, I ended up breaking my board, and Frank Chiardi rescued me and took me back to the beach and said, go home. Sweat, you know, come back, get another board, you know, it happens to everybody. But yeah, just great people on that first day, I remember meeting. So I also, as a geologist and an environmental consultant, have been asked a lot of times, why is Mavericks so big? So I wanted to discuss that as well. But here are some ways that I've caught. This is a towing wave. in 2003. And I think it was my biggest wave. And I was glad I made that, but I didn't realize how big it was until I saw the photo. I don't know, it's like always hard to measure, but it was really big.
It's too big.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, the wave obviously is generally really big, but also you're on the small board. So if you look at that and see the small board with the toe straps and all that, you can recognize it's a toe-in wave. And that was one of the things I did when I decided how much I liked Mavericks. Is we went and got a jet ski and got equipped with all this stuff. Not as much toe-in surfing happening these days, but it's still happening out there, sure. And there's a group of people that still love that. I don't do it as much. On the toe board, there's generally no leash. So it can be hard to find those things. They go through rocks and fall. But you have a jet ski to find them. So. This was a contest back in 2006. And this is the scene from Cliff. Here's another one from Don Montgomery. I think he said, yeah, 2014. And then this is a hour long. There it is. One that curved. Next video. Okay, yeah, those are some of my old waves. But I get this question a lot. Why are the waves so big out here at Mavericks? Hope I didn't do. Did I step on the wrong? Oh, there we go. Okay, great. It's really sensitive. Maybe I'll just stand on this side. Yeah, they're really
It's intermittent, it's considering.
Oh. We probably.
It's there.
Okay.
Oh.
Yeah,
Nobody
it's
moved.
like, it knows when you're nearby. Or-
How about the connection at the computer?
Yeah, no, that's. Oh,
No.
Don't move. Come on, baby. Stand right here, just like.
So I have another question about leashes. When you don't do the toe out, do you actually have a leash?
Yeah.
You do, even on the longboard?
Well, for surfing Mavericks, yeah, everybody wears a leash.
Wow. Wow.
And you could go without a leash, but you're almost guaranteed to lose the board.
Yeah.
Unless you don't fall. Again, you know. Yeah, so the 10-foot on boards that we use are big enough to fall into these giant waves. As the wave gets bigger, it gets a lot harder and more dangerous. So yeah, we use a jet ski that
Brian, quick,
assists you in.
Brian, you're on, go.
Okay, You guys can stay right
I'm
there.
just gonna unmute.
You're the antenna.
Okay, so, yeah, the question I get a lot is, why is Mavericks such a giant wave? And so here's Half Moon Bay and the harbor and Mavericks right here. And you can see how the waves are hitting this headland and then they come wrapping in here. And as they wrap in, they lose energy because the water is much shallower and the energy kind of gets spread out along the shore. And you can almost see that the shape of the land, the curvature of the shoreline is almost the same as the waves because of the way waves refract in. But on this side, they're focusing on this headland. And the next slide, which yeah, so this is the same area, but now we're out in the ocean. Here's the harbor. Here's the area where the waves are breaking in that last photo. And this is an image that was collected using a side scan sonar outside of a boat. And they actually do this just to map the terrain on the bottom of the ocean, the symmetry. And they took it really close in, and they did an amazing job of getting the symmetry close in around Mavericks. And when you look at it, it's pretty unique, and it's due to the faulting that's happening. There is actually a fault that runs right up through here, and you can kind of see the way it's affected the rocks and folded and twisted the rocks. These being the rocks. So this section of bedrock that's below the water surface acts to attract the swell, and when the swell comes in, it's slowing down as it gets into shallower water. So here's 100 feet of water, but these big ocean swells are actually refracting and bending around this bedrock area and focusing on where the break is right here. So that's why you get these waves. Just kind of a very lucky scenario for how the waves refract onto this raised area of bedrock.
The waves Mavericks aren't always large. What is the geological feature that has to be present to make them large?
Well,
The waves aren't always large. And I said, what is the geological feature that has to be present before they get large?
yeah, so they're large because the ocean's sending these swells from storms that are up in Alaska. But it's as far as the geology goes, this is a bedrock, sort of like a big peninsula of raised bedrock that runs out in this shape. So this is what's causing the refraction and the focusing of the energy. Does that make sense?
Yeah, he's asking more about how the swells are reaching, where do they come from?
So are you talking about where?
I think the northwest swell hasn't come in or something.
Yeah.
Correct, yeah.
October to March.
So you're getting big ocean swells in the winter and fall.
It's not already right and right.
Correct. Yeah, and it's these deep ocean swells that come in from big storms, usually up the Gulf of Alaska or the other side of the Pacific, west.
It's the northwest coming in.
Correct.
More matters of how strong the wind is over how large of an area. With the jet stream, there's a lot of factors that contribute to breaking.
That give an indication that, just give an indication that the particular swell is coming, but may not tell you how large or what it is, but the buoys are out there.
Yeah, NOAA has
Right.
a whole array of buoys
Yes.
up and down. Correct.
It's somewhat predictable.
The storms are very predictable now. you see them on maps, you know, and there's all these forecasting models to tell you exactly how slow are. They even use satellites to check how big the waves are by just sending signals back and forth. So yeah, the models now are very good. They're not perfect, and so that's what people are checking the NOAA buoys for. There is one that's about 350 miles offshore that tells you about 1 day in advance what's, whereas the local buoys tell you what's happening. That was all. I made it into a surf line ad after 2004 because I fell.
Read it.
Look, it says, know that if you want to commune with Mother Nature, you need to check on her mood before you go.
Thank you, Brian.
Yes.
Of course, I just got.
All right, hello, can you hear me?
Yeah.
In the
Yeah.
back there, all right, yes, hello, I'm Bianca. Thanks for having me. And also just to pick up a little more of where Ryan was leaping off, he checks the surf like about 20 times a day. It's compulsive and on the side models, many different models that you can follow. And yes, swells are predictable, but actually recently they've become predictably unpredictable with climate change, and it's just harder to really know what's going to happen more than like 3 to 5 days out. So, okay, so for me, I'll share a little bit about my background. So here I am, 7 years old, and that's when I started surfing down in Dana Point. And basically that first week that I got aboard, I decided I wanted to be the best surfer in the world. And yeah, so, and also I grew up down in Dana Point, but like probably just before this picture, my parents split up, and my dad has always lived up in San Francisco since then. And I actually had no idea that there was such great big waves here. I'd come up to visit him all the time and just do city things and help him out at work. He's a chef. And then one of my first trips, I would compete and all the time in these local club competitions, longboarding up and down the coast. And the kind of the first I had heard of Mavericks, apart from Surfer Magazine and in the magazines, was I competed against Sarah Gerhardt, who was the first woman to surf Mavericks. Oops, but this pic, here's a picture. Steamers Lane.
Wow.
And she was in my heat, and it was the first time I surfed that spot, and I was like really intimidated and was just like, wow, this woman is fierce. She's amazing. I just had it didn't even cross my mind that I would ever surf there, because I just was like, dang, she is hardcore and lots of respect. And so basically, I wanted to be the best surfer in the world. And when I was a teenager, I realized, hey, you're a girl and you're not going to have the same opportunity as the boys do. And so I got pretty pissed off and kind of gave up on that dream, really. And then when I was going to school at Santa Barbara,
Gaucho.
yeah, Gaucho. Yeah. That was when I actually got to know the waves up here in Northern California. A couple of friends on the surf team at UC Santa Barbara, they said, hey, bring your wetsuit next time you come up north to visit your dad and we'll take you surfing. And there's actually, it's pretty funny because first they took me to Ocean Beach. It was huge, windy, really like just, you know, like hardcore Ocean Beach, not good surf. And they said, we'll take you out here. And then later on when the tide's low, we're gonna take you to this secret spot, but we'll see if it's breaking. We can't tell you much. And it was Fort Point actually. And they said, all right, you watch us from afar. We're gonna get our wetsuits on and we're gonna go. If you come out 20 minutes later, you have to pretend like you don't know us. Oh, they're twin brothers, by the way. And I was like, really? I'm gonna do that. Good surfer, respectful. I'm just coming with you guys, you know? And so my, like how he described the culture, totally true. Like we share waves out of Mavericks and they're more so than other places. People respect each other and are communicative. But I was always very, very intimidated of Northern California surfing and surf culture growing up down in Southern California and just the wetsuits and everything. It was like, it was a healthy amount of respect and fear there. And so I got into big waves at Ocean Beach, and I got in big waves at Ocean Beach. I went up there one day with a friend of mine during college, and we had no idea how big it was, but we thought we had struck gold because when we arrived, there were just these beautiful peaks up and down the beach, nobody out, offshore winds, and we were like, Eureka, how can this be true? Like there was nobody out, Santa Cruz is packed everywhere, and got lucky, paddled out, and like got really lucky on the paddle out because we just got sucked right out in the rip and duck dove one big whitewater, and then the next wave looked like it was like the size of a 2-story house just squaring up and heaving right in front of us. And neither one of us had ever seen any wave look like that in person. And my friend said, well, see you on the other side. And I remember thinking like, should I try to duck dive or should I just bail my board and swim down? And I went for the duck dive because I had a comp light leash, which are really thin. And right as soon as I went under the wave, I was just like ragdoll, throttled, spinning and twisting, and this very, very, very violent experience that I had never experienced any kind of power like that before in my surfing career. And at that point, I'd already been surfing 15 years. And I was a very good surfer. And so, yeah, I opened my eyes, all I could see was dark. And I thought, gosh, I have no idea which way's up. And then my foot touched the sand. And as I barely had any energy left, I just, with the last remaining energy, swam to the surface like 3 slow strokes and thought, if there's another wave behind this one, I'm gonna die. And I didn't even have any emotions about it because I was so exhausted. I was just like, it's just a fact, I'm gonna die. There's another wave. Came up, there was not another wave. And I was gasping for air, legs tingling, body convulsing, parts of my neck, fingers, everything. The blood starts pumping again after you've been holding your breath for that long. And yeah, it feels like battery acid in your legs and your whole body from the oxygen depletion. Probably not that long, to be honest. I just hadn't been doing the proper preparation to be out in those conditions at Ocean Beach. And so that's what's interesting is we don't ever get held down, a long hold down. Now that we're using foam, static foam and air inflation, 45 seconds is pretty long. 1 minute's really long, but just even being held down for 15, 20 seconds actually seems pretty long when you're down there. So anyhow, I had so I had this experience, and I get back to the beach, and I just stood there staring at those waves at Ocean Beach that day, going, I want to surf those waves. There's nobody out there. It's perfect. I'm a really good surfer. I know I can do it if I put in the training and the effort and get the right equipment. And basically, I never looked back from that moment. And meanwhile, my buddy Parker, he moved to Montana and became a fly fisherman. So it's just two different ways to deal with those scenarios. And so I had kind of given up on my competitive dreams, but in 2014 there was an opportunity to compete in the first ever women's big wave surfing competition up in Oregon at a place called Scott Reef. And I thought, what the heck? I actually was coming off a knee injury, and that's how I got to know Ryan. Really was I was doing rehab for my knee injury with Lance Harriman, who's another Mavericks pioneer and amazing surfer and friend. And part of that knee rehabilitation was like, it was really the first time that I started like training in the gym, and I had other Mavericks surfers in my rehab. If there was Alex Martins and Lance and Ben and so Andrews, and I would just be there doing our exercises, and I'd be asking them a million questions, and I got to know Ryan. And so my strategy was always just to try to pick the brains of all the local legends and gather as much information as I can. And so I went up to this event, and I had surfed, at this point, I had surfed Mavericks one time in 2012. I had this board shaped for me, the one I'm riding there. That's a 9'6". And I go up to Oregon, and it was a pretty cool experience. It was the first time that big wave surfing event had women, but it was also the first time that a big wave surfing event was broadcast live on the internet. And we surfed first. There was a super heat with 8 women, 4 women from Hawaii. And it was just this really powerful, awesome experience of surfing out there and not having ever surfed out there, and just wondering, like thinking about it on the drive up in the car, like, do I have to catch a wave? Should I catch a wave? Is it a good idea? My knee's still pretty injured. But then once we got out there and we're around the other women, and you can see yourself in these other women, and I thought, what the heck, I'm gonna go for a wave. And I think that was the winning wave. I ended up winning the event. And by the way, we had no prize first. The men had $55,000 prize first, but at the last minute, but it didn't matter because it was just a success. Like all the women caught wave, and it was broadcast live on the internet, and the responses were amazing. People were like, "Wow, never knew women could do this. This is amazing." You could see just how their minds opened. And we all had this amazing experience just surfing together with one another with 7 other gals out in these big waves. That was like pretty unique and new experience. It was awesome. So after I won this event, and so by the way, a beer company threw in a little bit of money at the last minute. So it was awesome. We all shared it, and I think the Hawaii girls probably could have used a little more to cover their expenses. But that was 2014. Yeah, not that long ago. Yeah. So basically, after I win this event, that reignited my dream, and my dream from when I was 7, and that spark and that desire to just win and compete. And I've always loved competitions and community that come together with competitions, and just the motivation that you have to prepare and to push yourself to explore, what is possible. And so that led me to think the next logical step would be just to ask to compete at, because this was such a huge success at Scott Reef, was to ask to compete in the event at Mavericks in the women's division. And I thought it would just be this, just like a point blank, like, yes, of course women can compete here because everything went so well at Oregon. But that wasn't how it went. There's like, and on on a one-on-one basis, I mean, Ryan especially has been an amazing mentor, friend, and guide, and not just to me, to other people, and there are many folks out there like that. But when it comes to like, yeah, sharing the resource of the time and the competition, it was a pretty hard battle, and we still actually, he mentioned he's made it to the semifinals 5 times in the Mavericks event. Women have still yet to compete in an event out there, technically, but we were able to do something great along the way, which was we were able to win equal prize money for women in surfing. Because we had nothing to lose. And so that was kind of this great, from a historical perspective, that's going to be something that goes down in the history of Half Moon Bay forever. It's like, hey, this is the place where women won equal prize money on an international level, and it was the first time in a sports league that's happened. So it was pretty cool. And the way we did it was collaborating. Oh, and this is in the harbor. This was a cool pick because at first, the woman in the middle, her name is Nico Sell. She's a local resident. She actually tried to sponsor a women's division in the Mavericks event when the cartel management had it, and they said no. And so we kind of like hacked our way into having an event by creating this video contest it was ahead of its time, because now actually that is what we're doing here at Mavericks. There is a competition, it's a video competition. And basically, when you really look at big wave surf events, the real challenge has been figuring out a model a financially viable model for all the athletes and for the organizers as well. It hasn't happened yet. So yes, it's pretty rare. Yeah, here was a spot. And by the way, these, like, for me, this used to feel like a Mavericks wave. It did. I would be out there just like, oh my gosh, can I do this? I want to. I see, friend, catch wave, no big deal. And then I'll be like, okay, I'm gonna go for it. I'm gonna try my best. So there's that. Yeah, so I was just gonna show you that. This was, and so our work in winning the equal prize money ended up being the cover story of the New York Times Magazine, and the article, I don't know if you read it, but it was called "The Fight for Gender Equality in One of the World's Most Dangerous Sports," in one of the most dangerous sports on earth. And this day was when we got our cover shot. This is a pretty awesome bomb wave. Yeah. Yeah. So you can always recognize me because I have that pink starburst board you see there. Yeah, and we'll show you a little video. Oh yeah, here's a picture of you'll see in the Times. That's Andrea Moeller, and then Paige and Kayla Kennelly. And so we created a committee called the Committee for Equity in Women's Surfing, and we made a pact to stick together. So still would love. Oh, and also Ryan said he doesn't tow much, but this was a really proud moment for me. I'm towing Ryan into there. That's him. And of course, the wave doesn't look as big when he's on it. It's a huge one. It's a huge one. Yeah, that was just last year. And then, oh yeah, this is also the Mavericks Surf Awards, which is what is on offer. So that I won the awards with this wave. You're gonna show us that price, right? Sure thing, yeah, definitely. And that, yeah, so you see it's like a big wave, and I launch it in the air, land, and I really had my heart in my chest when I felt my board wasn't connected to the wave. I was like, oh gosh, this is scary, And then here's one that Ryan towed me into. You'll see that was also, this was probably, yeah, my biggest tow wave. And I don't have, last year was the first year where I started getting experience on that. And I will say, this wave was the only wave that I've found to be thrilling and rewarding. Like it does have to be really big. Otherwise, it feels more organic to paddle out, and like a real privilege and a treat to get to just walk down the beach, paddle out, and to not be dealing with, a motor vehicle out in the water, although it is also a privilege to use it out there. Paddling, for me, paddling is play. The video, yeah, that one's power lines again, and then just to show you a little more of what like Ryan was talking about, this was a nice party wave with Twiggy, who's our South African friend. And I was like, why'd you take off behind me, man? But yeah, it is such a special place, and every session out there, every opportunity, is really makes me feel so alive and inspired, and just I get all the emotions, and there's no place I'd rather be when it's happening. Yeah, so that's pretty much where we're at now, and there's like these video contests, but I think the next phase is, yeah, we need to update the athlete compensation model for outdoor athletes, because we're athletes in sports that have leagues. Well, we have a league, but they don't do anything for us. When you're a basketball player, or hockey, or football, or soccer, you're in a league and you get a step. And that's one of the challenges, and what Ryan was talking about too, is like, he's a pro surfer, but he supports himself with his career in environmental consulting. And so basically every single athlete out there on all the swells, the dedicated athletes, have figured out a way to support their dream job with an actual paying job. So yeah, there's a lot more work to do. Senior competitions, haven't seen any yet, but really inspired to hear that you want to serve. And this last year, actually, I coached a man who he started surfing when he was 53, and he was 59, and he was like, hey, will you coach me? I have this dream to surf Mavericks before I'm 60. I'm not Maverick. Yeah. But he's also a really good athlete, but we did it, and he got a wave out there. It was pretty cool. Yeah, and then just this last week, 2 weeks ago, was the first swell of the year. And for me, it was the coolest moment ever, because a local, our most talented surfer in the is Zoe Chang. She's 16, and this past year, she's a very, very good surfer. And it was also like what Ryan said, Mavericks is a mind game. The technical part, it's actually much more technical to surf small waves well. And so she and I have been like Instagram friends and talking for like 2 years. We've gone surfing a handful of times at Ocean Beach. And this last year, she started working out a bunch and she took her big wave safety courses. And I said, hey, Zoe, a couple of days before the swell, want to come out on Friday and just like take a look from the channel? And she was like, oh, maybe. And she called me on Thanksgiving and said, yeah, I think I want to come out there with you. Okay, cool. So midday came in, and we're getting her all, with her parents, getting her all geared up, because there's a lot of gear you wear. And then I looked at her parents and I said, okay, if Zoe wants to catch a wave out there, is she allowed to? And like, you're in charge. I said, no, I'm not, Zoe is. And then right when we got out there, the first thing she said when she saw a wave, she was like, oh, I could totally surf that. And then she was noticing all these different classmates who are a little bit older, and she's like, I'm better than him, I'm better than him. And I was like, yeah, you can do this. You've got the skills to do it. This is a mind game. And then, yeah, about an hour into our session, she decided to go for one, and we were all cheering and screaming. Can't see when someone catches a wave out of Mavericks, you can't see them. You just know they caught it. And so we're hearing screaming and cheering and whistling from the channel. and then see her kick out of the wave, and I almost cried. It was just so special, and it was also just amazing when she paddled back out and she was like, I can't believe I went. I can't believe I went. That was insane. So, yeah, that's where we're at now, and I'll be curious to see how history continues to unfold, because it is such a powerful place and an amazing community, and it's really also amazing to see how Bay Area surfing of all places has been a culture shaper in surfing worldwide. To me, it's just so interesting. Like, who would have thought, you know, these cold, rugged coastline would be a real pinnacle of surfing culture. Yes.
For the non-surfers in the area, can you tell us about the gear?
The gear.
you wear? You said there's a lot of
Yeah.
gear.
Yeah, so okay, so we've got our wetsuit, and then most basic safety protection after that is the static foam, which is similar to like when you're water skiing, like how you, or if you go on a boat and you just wear the life jacket, that's the foam. And so that is, it breaks the impact, so you like, if you're not wearing that, you'll get the wind knocked out of you, you can break bones, etc. But that breaks the impact, and then you always know you're gonna surface eventually, right? The air is more buoyant and powerful to bring you to the surface, but the air is, it can have issues like your bladder can pop, or you could get slammed down all the way to the bottom and it could pop again, or you could pull the cord and it might not work. So what we've discovered is that wearing the foam and the air is the best idea. And I heard people talking about helmets, and I think we'll see that will happen. That'll be the next wave. Ryan and I were just in Hawaii last week, and most of the young kids at Pipeline, that's a shallow reef, were wearing the helmets, and the helmets are getting better and better. And it's just like, yeah, why not? You want to be protected.
Foam and the air.
Foam and air, yeah, so it's two separate. So the air is they're on airplanes. If you ever travel, they do the safety procedure. They talk about that. There's no mask, but it's got CO2 cartridges, and they're hooked into a bladder, like a rubber bladder. You pull the cord, and then it fills up with air. It inflates, yeah, it's an inflator vest.
And then one more question.
Yeah.
Deep is the bottom.
Pretty deep. It can depend on the tide and the size of the swell, but it's like 30 feet at the first tier of the reef. But like on January 11th or 10th, 2020, that day it was breaking so far out. We were actually lining up with the mile marker buoy. And so I think it would probably have been 50 or 60 feet where we were surfing on that day. It's deep, yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, awesome.
Two questions. What's it sound like in those big waves?
You know,
And then
that,
also,
yeah, so we must be able to self-rescue. Oh, okay, yeah. So the sound, when the waves are, what you can probably hear, if you live near the ocean, you can hear when there's big swell, but then there's another kind of noise when it's a really big swell, and that it sounds like cracks of thunder or lightning or like a missile or bombs. It's like this explosion, this deep crack. And so the sound is really interesting, especially when we first start going out. I noticed it a lot, and then I now notice the uptick in the volume once at the next size, like once it's California size, face value size 50 feet and up, you can hear like there's this louder, deeper sound. Those are on the rare swells. How do I support myself like financially? Yeah, so speaking engagements in a great way. I have a restaurant in San Anselmo, and I have some sponsors, and that New York Times Magazine is actually getting made into a Hollywood film. But I'm paycheck to paycheck. Yeah.
Sport is very good.
Doing it for the love, that's right, yeah, haven't worried too much
You're not
about
corrupted
that.
by money.
Yeah, I've been fighting the good fight and feel like I've done strong work. And now it's maybe time to think about like, yeah, financial stability, you know, that kind of thing. So,
Do what you love, and the money will come.
that's what I think, too. Do what you love with
Can
money.
you tell us your age now?
I'm 37, yeah.
That's
Yeah.
very young.
In big wave surfing, age is a gift, because your experience out there is what, you know, you can stay calm and composed, and we saw Peter Mel got his best wave ever when he was 50. And so I'm definitely in it for the long haul, and especially this last year, I've been, you know, I've thought about, I know I want to do this forever, and how much it means, how much richness and joy it brings to my life each and every session. And so I've been like stepped up my self-care taking, obviously. And but yeah, I know I want to do it forever. I just love it. And I also love coming into the role of being the modern elder too. And getting to bring someone like Sylvia out. Like to me, that's like, you know, that's what it's all about. So thank
We just want to wrap up real quick. Earlier today, I got an email from Bianca. She said that she just wanted to let me know that she was walking her dog at Mavericks. And she said, which she considers a symbol of possibility, accountability, and responsibility. And I think that kind of sums up surfing Mavericks. Not that I will ever do it, and now have absolutely no desire to do it. Terrified, probably have nightmares, but it's all good. And I'm so grateful that you guys took the time to come out and share your story. We've been live streaming this, and we're recording it, so it will go out to the masses. And I think I know Zoe Chait and her family, and Bianca has been a real force in this girl's life. And it's when I asked Zoe to come tonight, and I was like, "So you did it, Bianca will be there." Like, just tried. Unfortunately, she couldn't come tonight, but she sends her love. She's an amazing woman. Yeah. So thank you all. I appreciate you coming out, and have a great day.